Welcome to D Colony. Good day, buddies. We're not making any DIY project today, as my left hand got accidentally bitten when my two male dogs suddenly got into fight. Thankfully it's not that severe, but I'm giving it a bit of rest. What we'll do for today is a feeding video on our 4-year-old pet ant colony, living on my coolest ant farm. Not just an ordinary feeding, as we're giving them lots of exercise and challenge. At the same time, we're also gonna share some tips and trick on how you can make a normal meal more special, by basically doing almost nothing. Anyway, let me appreciate the most awesome guys on our channel. Jeffrey Miles, Sean, M Pro Gamer, The Hunter Chick, Commander Falks, and the latest addition Lautaro Garcia. Thank you so much, buddies, for being a member of our humble channel and for supporting our future project. Anyway, we attached magnets on the end and on the feeding dish, so it won't fall off no matter how intense the ants' activity gets. Let's set it on top of this hill, and just wait for our pet ants' trail to take form. This spiral tower will give them the much-needed added exercise, as it greatly extends the travel distance of the ants to the food. Well, this ants buddies are very slow, so we'll make most of the vid run on time lapse. Speaking of it takes a whooping 19 minutes for the first worker ant to reach the top and find the food. Anyway, the first food that we offered is this pool of sweets, or the one we call sugar water. This will replenish their energy spent on climbing this challenging path. As not everyone who dared to climb will reach the top. But how come a mere spiral tower is so challenging to ants, who just use pheromones to form trail, to be able to reach their intended destination, from point A to point B? Well, on this tower, there's only one path, the way up which leads to the food, and way down, which leads to the nest. And at some points, these two pheromone paths meet or overlaps, which makes some of the workers go in circles, or go down again without reaching the top of the tower. As a proof of it being that challenging to this species, there's only minimal number of ants drinking at the summit, even after 2 hours. While there's so much of them trying to climb. If this pool of carbohydrates is to be offered to the colony normally, it will be covered with ants immediately, and fully consumed in a few minutes. Well, at least for those unlucky ants who can't solve the puzzling road and got caught running in circles. They won't die of hunger, as the successful workers are always ready to share the food they collected from the top, through mouth-to-mouth, or trophallaxis. And like on a typical highway, such blockage causes traffic congestion, which makes this path even more challenging to solve. They took about 6 hours to empty this tiny pool, which they would normally finish in just a few minutes. Anyway, it's 6 p.m. already, so let's give them the next meal. A special Liborio Roach for dinner. I called it Special Buddies even though it's just your normal Liborio Roach. But for the ants it's special, as they can only have this type of roach for meal twice a month. Yes, buddies, one way to make a usual feeder special is not through gut loading, but to simply be offered rarely. As the more often you gave them the meal, the less appeal it gets to the colony. I'll show you the feeding chart of this colony. We have lats, mealworms, crickets, Liborio roaches, and occasional feeders like meats, from chicken, pork, beef, fish, and bugs from backyard like grasshoppers or mole crickets. Let's give them a class base on how often I offer them. A lat, for example, is at class B. It's the usual food as I feed it at least 4 days a week. Mealworms on class A, as I offer them at least twice a week. While crickets, and dubias on class S for special, as they can only taste it at least twice a month. Meats and backyard bugs are S+ class, as they're only offered at least once a month. Sometimes it's more often than that, based on my free time to prepare them. And the feeding goes like this. They get lats on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. Mealworms on Tuesday and Fridays. And for Sundays, I give them dubia and crickets alternately. And that goes the pattern for every week. And for the S+ tier meals, I just replace any of the usual meals, when I feel like it or have free time for it. This is a mature and massive pet ant colony buddies, so they need to eat every day. Though we don't apply this exact pattern on every mature colony that we have, for example on our acrobat ant colony. Their special grade meals are lats and mealworm, as they are what I rarely give them. You can definitely tell if they consider the meal special, as the excitement is obvious every time. And the swarm numbers are much more than usual. Anyway, I do something like this on carbohydrates feeding as well. The usual one was sugar, water and honey, which are class B and A. And variety of fruits for the S tier. I hope you get the idea on how to make a usual meal into something more valuable for your pet ants. Food variation is the key buddies, but how you offer them is one of it as well, especially if you got limited types of feeders available. Anyway, they took 12 hours to finish the tiny dubia roach, which they could typically finish in a few hours if offered on the ground directly. Along with this one, on the feeding tower, we offer some on the outworld as well so they don't get food shortage. As we've seen, they can't collect the food on this tower for immediate needs. But still having it on the setup is worth it, as it will keep the colony busy for a long time if we just place a portion of their meal up there. I just hope you have learned something from this video, guys. Be a genie for the first time, by granting my wish and tapping the like and share button, that would help a lot. This is D Colony, saying goodbye for now, but hoping to see you on my next videos.